Welcome back to another episode of Accept, Then Achieve. I'm so honored to have our guest here today. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jeannie Teleia, and I am a play therapist and a dolphin assisted healing facilitator.
So
Yeah.
cool. Oh my gosh. So many questions. But first, what inspired you to come on this podcast? What does the title Accept, Then Achieve mean to you?
hmm I think because I had to accept a long time ago that I was not going to be able to walk the line that I was trained to go to. You go to college, you go to graduate school, you get a job, you work a lot, and that was just killing me. And so a couple times in my life, I've just sold off everything and moved across the country or to a little island or to Hawaii where I knew no one because I had to figure out what made me tick. And the thing that came to me at one point was I loved kids and I loved playing with kids and I was really good at it. And when I asked myself, what am I good at? Playing is what came to me. And I thought that is so stupid. I was a major perfectionist and I thought, who can make a living playing? That's insane. I was a nanny and this and that, but how are you going to make a living? And then I found out about this field called play therapy. And I was already trained in mental health and clinical work and family stuff. But play therapy, what? I can play and I can buy toys and we can have fun. And what I noticed in therapy is that when people stop talking and start playing, they are more able to get into their unconscious stuff and get out of the blocks in our heads and the limiting beliefs. And the unconscious is where all the magic is in transformation. It's like we got to get the head and the mind out of the way. I also look at bodies holistically. So, like, physical and mental health are not separated for me. So, we talk a lot about what you eat and how you poop and what that's like in your body, and your breathing and all of those things. But then I sort of learned at the same time I was learning about play therapy, this book fell in my lap about dolphin assisted healing. And I said, what? I had been swimming with dolphins for a while and felt their healing impact on me, but found out there's actually people around the world doing things with, for me, it would only be wild dolphins and whales. And so I started finding a place to explore that. And I just, again, had to accept that I was not going to walk the path that was laid out for me, or what I was expected to do. And, my mother just said at one point, it's like whichever way the wind blows, it's like that's where I went. And so I did. I really was able to find somebody to mentor me and watched dolphin assisted healing and the magic of that interaction and that play and that joy and that love and that connection with something so much bigger than yourself in nature. And I just saw amazing healing. I just can't explain it. And I know a little bit of the science behind it, but there is something, it's really body, mind, spirit work as well as physical, transformation. But there is just a wealth of experiences out there connected to nature. I've done a lot of experiential metaphors and transformation in nature. So that sort of led me to where I felt I was achieving more progress, for my heart. I felt like I was in alignment with my values and in alignment with what made sense for me to do on this planet. Is both protect dolphins and whales and play and get other people to play, especially adults, and to kind of bring them back to their joy. I say that fun is a fundamental universal need. And it's really true. Every society, every community of people, they have to play. The kids have to play as part of their mental, physical, neurological development. Even in war zones, you'll see kids playing. You'll see them kicking balls around or bricks or whatever. It's part of how we heal and how we understand life. And that just felt like alignment for me. And so I was able to have a private practice, as long as I've been doing it now, 20 years, that's based on experiential, nature-based playing and peak experiences. My focus has been those peak experiences with wild dolphins and whales, either in the water or touching, wild whales who want to be with you. and are choosing to bring their babies to you so that you can kiss them and pet them and hug them. There's a place in Baja, Mexico that I'm taking a retreat next year in 2025 that they created this connection with humans, and they initiate contact after we almost hunted them to extinction. After 30 years or so, they started approaching humans and bringing their babies to be touched, kissed, petted, babysat. I mean, mom leaves and shoves the baby up at you in your little fishing boat and wants you to play with it, and the baby wants to play. And so this play, this interaction has been a way that they're forgiving us and telling us, like, you're worthy of redemption. And that is the message I feel like is coming from the whales in this particular area where we almost whaled them to death in Baja, Mexico, in these 3 bays. And those same ones that were still alive 30 years later were approaching humans, and they
Wow.
knew the humans were actually afraid of them, because they were called the devilfish because they used to kill whalers. And they were saying, I forgive you, and I'm going to touch you and bring my baby to you. Like, what more trust could you possibly get from something in nature? You know, and they're not fed. There's nothing to eat there. There's no evolutionary advantage for these whales to do this kind of play and interaction. And it changes people. I mean, people cry, they laugh, it's just like they are afraid. All of these things come up, and it's all connected to other stuff happening in your own life. So I always say nature provides all the metaphors we could ever need or want. And I see that every time people attempt to interact with a dolphin or even get in the water when they're afraid, and to be able to overcome that fear and look at how those fears translate or already in the rest of their life. And then they feel so much more empowered after they have faced that fear. And I had a woman on a retreat who was so afraid of the water because she had been in several real near drowning accidents, yet she comes on a dolphin retreat, but she
Wow.
was convinced she could not get in the water without those floaty things around her waist and a noodle and everything. And I was like, you're my project. I'm going to get you off of it. And I would say things like, I'm going to get you off the tit. It's time to get off of it. And by the end, I had to convince her that she was not going to, that bodies were made to float. Yeah. And so you almost could not stay down. So I had to show her how to dive down and how her body would just automatically float to the surface, and that she was held by the water. So there's a lot of metaphors and there's a lot of archetypes in water, in the ocean. And so we used those, and she had this amazing transformation and got off of all her, noodles and all of her floaties. And when she came off the retreat, people kept saying, where have you been? I've never seen you look like this. And she was just glowing, and she was, jubilant, and, really felt like she had shifted this thing, and that had been weighing on her, even if it wasn't a daily thing. So she was really brave. I've had other clients that went out with me with dolphins on a boat, and it was me and her and a client and a couple other people, and we got in the water with the dolphins, and we were swimming around and connecting. And I teach people kind of how to connect, what the best ways are to connect with dolphins where you can really have a meaningful experiences. These are not tourist experiences. It's small groups, dolphins where you're alone, or it's just very highly regulated. But this woman, we got all back on the boat, and she said, oh, did you hear them? Oh, they're making so much noise. I could feel them in my body. And we were all like, no, we didn't hear a thing. And the dolphins will pick somebody to work on with their sonar, with their all these sound and the sound healing that is happening. They
Wow.
can MRI your body so they can see everything that's going on in you. And she was targeted. None of us heard it. And I can hear it often, and you can feel it inside your brain or inside your body when they're sonaring you. And she said this knot of anxiety that she had always had in her chest just disappeared. And she was much better after that. She had been plagued with anxiety her whole life. And she said this massive weight had just let go, and the dolphins, I feel like, in my experience, they target people who need them the most, for, let's say in that moment. And they do something We don't have the science yet to measure it, but I think it is like, having that kind of ultrasonic healing. And there's other levels that I think are happening there in the connection, but there's something about being held and being approached by a sentient, large animal that wants you in their space. We're
Right.
very careful about not forcing ourselves in their space, but they're choosing to bring you in, and you just feel this connection to the universe that you have never felt before. And it just makes you feel, oh, I belong here. I'm okay, just the way I am. I don't have to do anything but float, you know,
Yeah, and I'm
and
accepted by
I'm
this wild animal, even though I treated their ancestors poorly. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
like they
gosh.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know. And they are really forgiving and really generous. I've seen people behave terribly with wild dolphins, and yet they still swim in a circle near you and bring their babies. And if you're quiet, if there's certain ways of doing things, where they will get so close to you, it's hard not to run into them. And they are saying you are in our pod, and it's such a gift and it's such an honor, and it just changes people. I mean, they come out glowing and just like they can do anything, and it's just a transformational experience, not to mention the whole forgiveness process from the whales.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I sort of go, I like to say that I just like to follow dolphins and whales around the world. So I try to go find places where you can have really special encounters that aren't touristy
Amazing.
and crowded and, aggressive and stuff. And yeah, you can really have that eye to eye contact. And I'm, learning animal communication. And now I've gotten a lot of confirmations about how to really connect at a different level with dolphins and whales, and have had some incredible healing experiences of my own that were really unexpected. And it's just a gift every time. You kind of never know what's going to come up. And
Mhm.
it's just, I've really learned to trust nature, that nature really knows what to do, like our unconscious knows how to heal us. If we
Mhm.
kind of get out of the way of the head, get out of the way of the stories, the narrative, the history, the trauma, all of that. And I can't, I say that, I call it no drama trauma transformation is sort of what I like to do through play and through using nature and experiential. Raising that joy vibration is what we
Mhm.
need in this world, and it can propel you forward in your healing process or just your life satisfaction,
Mhm.
so much more and so much faster than talk therapy or any of that. And my goal is often to get people to stop talking. So
Yeah.
I'll stop talking.
That's amazing. And before I met you, I had no idea that dolphin and whale assisted therapy was a thing.
Yeah.
I knew about play therapy, but this is a whole
Mhm.
nother level. Like you're combining play and nature, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
There's a random question with that. Do you think that we bring healing to the dolphins and whales as well? Is it a mutual
I think so.
experience?
I definitely think
Yeah.
because, I always ask you to bring a gift to the dolphins and whales or bring an intention. And they, of course, feel that, they're really energetic beings, and on the quantum level, right, we're all supposed to be exchanging energy all the time and all connected on this quantum level. And so I think, certainly we bring some sort of interest to them. And I really ask people and I coach them about how to be playful in the water, how to be interesting to them. But I think they respond to our joy. They really
Mm.
do, especially you can see that with the whales, and they want to be in that field with us, that energy of the joy. And we really focus a lot on gratitude and love and kind of
Right.
holding that energy in your heart and your body, and sending that out to them. And a lot of gratitude for their, what they do for the planet. Whales are incredible for climate, how much carbon sink they create by
Mhm.
their diving, and how they're diving deeply generates these swells of algae and other small animals to come to the surface, and that pulls a ton of carbon out of the air. They've actually measured how much carbon, how many trees a whale basically equals, based on the
Wow.
amount of carbon they pull out of the air. So they are incredible animals for our environment, and we need them.
Right.
They don't need us. We need them more than
Mhm.
they need us. And so I feel like we're also there to give them the gift, to clean up the oceans, to clean up the beaches, to notice any entanglements, things like that. Those are things that we can bring to them, and they know we love them. They know, I think, feel that certainly with the whales that bring their babies up to me and are pushing their babies up into my boat, and they're not gonna, and then the mommy often leaves and takes a nap and or goes and plays with the boat, and I nobody's gonna do that when if they don't trust you.
Right.
So they're telling us, "You are worthy of my trust, my love, this connection that I'm going to bring my baby to you."
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a miracle. So that's when people see a miracle, it's just it changes you, and there's something that propels you forward when you live in joy, the joy
Mhm.
vibration more, or you live in fun, and you play. And dolphins, are automatically like the world's best play therapists, and whales too. But yeah, they've always been that for me. You can always see how they have fun together, and they have kind of like that pod mind. They move together, they play together, they make decisions together, and it's all, on their communication level that we're not able to see or hear. So it's very interesting to try to study them as a pod. It's sort of like an example for how human pods could be. Yeah, in terms of the
Mhm.
cooperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also, have their aggressive play, and they even fight, and there's, the shadow side of dolphins too, just like humans, and that's good to see also, so
Mhm.
that there's a reality there too of their structures and how they manage their social lives and their interspecies connections. So it's just fascinating.
Definitely. And I think for many people who have lost trust in human interactions because of understandably traumatic experiences or disappointments, like this just helps them reconnect to that
It
feeling of
does.
being so loved and accepted and belonging and
And
all of
that's the
that.
thing, it's like you have to develop that connection with yourself first,
Mhm.
is that sense of trust, or that there's this whale or this dolphin saying, "You are so worthy that I am going to swim within an inch of you, and I'm going to bring you my baby."
Mhm.
There is something so transformational about that, that you are worthy, being silly and laughing and crying, and all these ways that you show up fearful, and that we think you're amazing anyway. We could swim away,
Right.
but we choose to be with you. And there is something that's really affirming about that. So in trauma work, it's, frequently it has to be with, I'm okay in myself, my body, my
Mhm.
essence. There's nothing broken. There's
Mhm.
nothing broken in me. And they recognize that. And they're trying to affirm that.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what people get on a really unconscious level.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were saying before we started recording that just you ask so many adults that they don't remember the last time they played or had fun. And could you
Yeah.
speak more about that and like the joy
Yeah, I mean,
consciousness in the world?
yeah, when I meet people, I don't ask them what they do. I ask them what they do for fun. And I really, especially adults, even kids are having more struggles with this because they're overscheduled. But adults, you see this faraway look come in their eyes, and it's a bit of sadness, and I don't remember the last time I had fun, real fun play where I really played. And there's more and more being written about the importance of play and fun in adult life, and
Mhm.
how it connected to our creativity, our problem solving, our resiliency, our communication. And those are all critical skills for our work lives.
Mhm.
And, some companies have been recognizing this and encouraging breaks and encouraging play and encouraging naps and things that we do in kindergarten, right? So it's sort of like go back to what was fun for you as a kid. So when I work with people, I always get them to go back to what they played as a kid, and I ask them to reflect on what it was, and you can see the joy show up on their face again. The things that they laughed about, the toys they played with, and the coloring they did, and the art and the silly stuff they made. And now kids struggle more with imaginative play. When I do play, they don't know what to do with the puppets, and they ask, what's this for? What's this for? And their imagination has to come back online. And you actually see that happening when they're allowed to kind of be free in the playroom. And it's a wonderful thing because kids are either overscheduled or it's overly structured, or
Mhm.
you get one Lego set and it makes one thing, and that's what you focus on making instead of just using the pieces and making whatever you want, and
Right.
so there's too much structure and not enough fluid, imaginative, non-directive play that lets the unconscious material come up and lets that flow, and really having that trust in the body's ability to heal itself,
Mhm.
and the body, mind, spirit. So I tell people, one of the practical things is, what did you play as a kid that you loved, and go do that. It's not rocket science. It's like, start playing more. So how can you incorporate play and fun in your everyday life? So then I ask people, you need to incorporate something fun in every day. And I'll give them the example that I buy this bubblegum flavored unicorn sparkly toothpaste, and I always use it every morning. And it's just some little thing, that is fun for me, that is playful. I have bubbles, I have all kinds of toys, of course, but I have a laughing pill, and I press that and it's like this kid laughing, and it reminds you to laugh and to be lighter and to find things to feel joyful about, because the world can be really heavy. So we
Mhm.
have to have this counterweight or we're all going down with the ship.
Yes.
And so I feel like my mission is to raise this joy vibration, and you can't hate somebody jumping on a trampoline. You just can't, and it's like, we all need to let the kids have their time and then get in there, and really have that fun. Even the stuff we did as a kid is really still available to us now.
Mhm.
I think half the reason people have kids is so they can play, because kids
Yeah.
can be really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
know how to play intrinsically, and we've lost a lot of that as adults,
Yeah,
being overworked, overscheduled, lots of narrative, lots of perfection, especially on women, a lot of pressure to
for
do
sure.
too much. And
Mhm.
so, that's why I think a lot of women are attracted to dolphins and whales, because they are so playful and so joyful. And women in particular have felt that loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the,
definitely. Pressured to be everything to everyone. And
yeah,
yeah,
in so
and
many roles.
yeah, and you said so many people are feel this huge pressure too to find their life's purpose. Could you speak
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, and I just, I think that being joyful and bringing joy to the world, more of that vibration, is enough. And it's like, what would it be if more of us were more joyful more often, and we played and we laughed and we hugged and we loved more often with the people around us, and then, that sort of ripple effect. And sometimes the pressure to find my purpose and turn it into a business and, have a passion can mess people up in terms of putting too much pressure on them, when it's enough to just be, right? We're a
Mhm.
human being, not a human doing. And we lose a lot of sight of that, or lose sight of that because we're supposed to do, 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 do. And our society reinforces that, our cultures, our families,
Mhm.
and we lose sight of our true essence, which is joy, which is love and play. And it's enough, I think, to raise the joy in yourself and around you, which
Mhm.
is healing to you, to the planet,
Mhm.
to other people, to animals. And that's enough. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
That's
enough.
so much because so many people do things, but then they do
Yeah.
it without that joy.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
arguably, yeah, but I think like the life's purpose, our life's purpose here is to just have fun. It's to just
Yeah.
experiment, is
Yeah.
explore. There's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong purpose. I mean,
Right.
it is enough.
Right. I
When you
mean,
mentioned the joy conscious, oh, just one more person living with more joy, it does impact everything
yeah,
else
it
too.
really does. Yeah. If you know someone that feels playful to you and loving and happy and joyful, everybody wants to be around them, and it's just like, we can be that, in ourselves and then outward to the world. And I think the dolphins and whales really show us how to be like that. They
Hmm.
always have that element. They also know how to rest. They know when to turn off. They can swim. They have to turn off one side of their brain at a time in order to sleep. So they can sleep on one side of their brain because they have to breathe consciously. So they have to stay
Oh,
conscious
cool.
on one side. So they figured out how to take naps 24/7 by just switching sides of the brain. And I thought, oh, well, how brilliant is that?
That
So
is
that they
really,
know they can sleep whenever they want and need to. If they don't have to wait till a certain time and not take a nap and all that. So it's in whales are the same. So yeah, they're pretty magical examples in the world, and there's a lot of that in the animal kingdom.
that's amazing. Wow. I had a random question I thought of because so many of us are, we've gotten so far away from play. I remember talking to someone who said that he's like, it feels like yet another thing on my to-do list to schedule
Hmm.
in fun or to do
Yeah.
this thing I loved as a child. How would you
Hmm.
advise that
Yeah.
that feeling or to not turn play into another work thing?
Another chore. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And it's sort of like, well, let's go back to how much time you spend on social media. Where are your time wasters?
Hmm.
And to try to reduce some of that. So all of a sudden this space opens up. So I also have to work on not getting on my phone first thing in the morning and instead really focusing on my gratitude journal, which is really joyful for me, and to not get sucked into some sort of electronic or some sort of busy thing that's a time waster or a distraction.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, you'd be surprised how much time people actually have. And then, small things like incorporating that toothpaste. To me, that like enlivens my whole morning when I get up and I know I've got this silly toothpaste to play with. And, so incorporating those small things, can you put on music while you're making breakfast, getting ready for work? I mean, just those things we all know are really helpful that we're dancing around while we're showering or we're singing, the things that we did very, organically as a kid, we didn't stop us because somebody was watching. You can do that while you're driving to work. You can sing your heart out, you can make up a chair dance, there's all kinds of ways, even in work, I used to bring like these animal noses and at a meeting and everybody had to put one on. I mean, it was just hilarious. You just couldn't be ornery and obnoxious with the pig nose on, and it just lightened the whole thing up, and it's like, how can we bring in humor that's appropriate? There's a lot of ways to do that,
Hmm.
and, just be more fun with each other, and ask people, "What do you do to play?"
Hmm.
And thinking about, what are your breaks like? What are you doing on your breaks? Are you checking your email or are you coloring? Are you drawing? Are you doodling? There's new research out that shows how doodling actually helps people be more productive at work.
Yeah.
So, their creativity, their communication, the problem solving, different parts of their brain are on, giving the other parts a rest.
Hmm.
So, even something as simple as just doodling. Daydreaming has also been found to actually really benefit people mentally and physically. They're
Hmm.
not, they're just, it's very loose daydreaming. It's not dreaming about anything in particular. It's just sort of the relaxed mind and just thinking about something pleasant. That's a kind of play. You don't need to be doing a lot. So you
Hmm.
can do it while you're driving, while you're showering, while you're, trying to do other chores, and try to bring in elements that were just naturally there more as a kid.
Hmm. Great, thank you. And I also wanted to ask, like, what were you mentioned metaphors? So, well, you mentioned some as during the course of this conversation, but what was most healing for you? What were your low points? And kind of just, can you speak more about your
Mhm.
personal experience?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of more trouble with depression and mood stuff when I was younger. And when I first swam with dolphins in Hawaii, I really felt a weight lift off of me and felt like we were real, I felt really connected and wanted to learn more about them and how they exist on this planet, what they're doing. So I had to learn about all their biology and all of the stuff that we don't even know yet, but that is believed about their sound and what is happening with people. But that really felt like the beginning of my healing journey because I knew it had helped me. And
Mhm.
then when I was studying play therapy, and this book about dolphin assisted therapy fell in my lap, literally at the library. And I said, oh my gosh, these two belong together completely. Dolphins are the master play therapists. This belongs together. I knew it helped me. I read all these stories about how it helped all these other people who were depressed or, painfully, clinically, impaired by their shyness or their fears.
Mhm.
And I just felt like I needed to incorporate these two in my work. And so it gave me some direction, both out of my own
Mhm.
depressive states and this heaviness and this weight, because I'm highly sensitive. So I
Too.
am easily overwhelmed by the universe and the stuff that's happened out there. And my nervous system needs play and lightness and joy and silliness and dolphins and whales for me to have that counterweight, to have
Mhm.
that balance. And the fact that I've seen it work in other people. At first I had to see it to believe it, and boy, did I see it. And
Right.
so I was like, this is for real, whether we can measure it or not. We could measure it, but there's not a lot of money for it. So, and I only work with wild animals, so it's more challenging. But you see the results, and it's given me a lot of joy in my
Mhm.
life, and direction, really, because it's like, well, I'm good at playing, but how do I actually help the world with that for me? That was helpful for my own personal path. I sold off everything a couple times and moved across the country or to some little island just to let go of all of the expectations that were on me, about
Wow.
how I was supposed to live my life. And that those brought me a lot of depression
Mhm.
and
Definitely.
because they weren't my essence.
Right.
And so, yeah, when I sort of got through that and tried to figure out, well, I'm good at playing, and how I could bring that forward in the world, that really it just gave me a lot of joy and a lot of just feeling alignment with my values.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In our last 5 minutes, I just wanted to make sure people know how they can connect with you, where to find you, and then just any practical tools that they can use immediately after this episode that you'd like to share.
Yeah, thank you. I am my website is yourlifewelllived.net. I'm also on Facebook under Cetacean Inspirations and my name. You can find me there. I have a blog that's called A Playful Life Worth Living. And you can find me through that and through my website. You can find the blog and the Facebook connections and things like that. And certainly the practical things are, well, come on a retreat. I mean, get a jump start, come on a retreat, feel this level of inspiration and transformation. But that day-to-day stuff, it's like I said before, really think about what you played as a kid. What brought you joy? What parts of that can you incorporate in your daily life? What parts of your daily life are really a drag on your energy and your mood or are just distractions? And fill those spaces up with things that are fun. Maybe you need a doodle pad, maybe you need a coloring book with you. And what would that be like, to bring that with you in your bag or your purse or have at your desk or at your home instead of the remote control? I know I can get sucked into that. So it's like, how do I bring out the stuff and have it really in my face and available? Or having things playing with kids, certainly if you have kids, play with them. Get out the bubbles. It's like a deep breathing
Mhm.
exercise to do soap bubbles, and it teaches your kids how to relax and use breathing
Mhm.
as a tool for relaxation and fun. And so play with other kids. Kids of any, it doesn't matter whether you're related to them or not, kids will play with you. So, what is imaginative play? Daydream. Yeah,
Mhm.
so really do that daydreaming, um, incorporate something in every part of your day, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's art, whether it's, just running, through a field and, but being out in nature tends to bring most people some level of joy very quickly and automatically. So always connecting with something in nature and being really present with it,
Mhm.
whether it's watching the leaves fall off the trees at this time of the year or just a river flowing and just being curious. So the one of the best things about kids is they're super curious about the whole world. And I think that's true of dolphins and whales. They just want to see everything. They want to feel it. They want to look at it. They want to turn it over. It's like, what if you did that, in your day-to-day life about anything, another person, a situation, something that you see out that you've never seen before, or something particularly in nature,
Hmm.
be curious. So that is one of the first steps in being playful is to be curious.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I know you mentioned that you have a sandbox too, so it's not like people have
Yes.
to go all the way to a retreat with wild
Right.
animals. You can find that healing that you seek even
Oh,
in
yeah.
just a sandbox or with some toys.
Yeah, having your own
Mhm.
sand play, in your sandbox. I have one here and I bought some toys, little miniatures, and just making little words. Some people just like to feel the sand. There are really a lot of tactical and sensory things about feeling sand that are very relaxing, or water. So a lot of people just have their own trays and they can buy those, tubes with all the little miniatures in them. And you can just start making stuff up. It's like a form of art and creative expression, and just
Mhm.
know that the unconscious will pull out what you need and bring forward. You don't even have to think about it. You just play.
Yeah.
And it's really transformational. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your wisdom and your story and your experiences.
Oh,
That
you're
concludes.
so welcome. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate that you're collaborating with folks out there and getting the word out. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This concludes the episode. Bye, everyone.